Oh boy, we are live. We are live. It is Sunday night, December the 10th, which is impossible to think that it's December the 10th already. Welcome to the Sidekick Show. My name is Rob Gadet. I am with my good friend Stu Pay, who is helping fill in while John is off pretending he's one of Santa's little helpers and running the store over at Heroes World. So welcome if you are joining us live or if you're listening after the fact on your favorite podcast method of choice, delivery of choice, whether it's Apple or Spotify. Thank you so much. But you can join us every Sunday night live, 8 o'clock Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Of course, we probably won't be live on Christmas Eve, but that's for another show. Stu, buddy, yes. How are you?
Good, my bosom buddy. Everything is good on our end. So, yeah. R.I.P. One of the bosom buddies, but nonetheless,
we are 15 days away from the big magical day, and
we established that was Festivus, right? Is that what we established in the last episode? Yes, thank you. Is that where we air our grievances? Is that where we air our grievances to John?
Yes. Oh, and Andre. They will sit down. It'll be like an intervention. They'll have to sit down and listen to us. I've been running around doing some Christmas stuff the last few days, decorating around the house today, getting some Christmas gifts and whatnot. How about with you? Are you in the midst of that? And the reason I ask is that my wife has been out more shopping than I have. And she's like, the malls are dead. Like everything seems to be just dead comparative to this time last year. So it's either one, people are staying home and buying online, or two, they're waiting till the last minute. So where are you right now in your holiday shopping?
I have taken advantage of the American Black Friday / Cyber Monday stuff for a lot of the small little tchotchkes and things that I need to buy. The other things that really need the TLC, a la omnibuses and books and other things, I'll stop by Heroes World and buy some stuff. But really, like, electronics or whatever, it's going to be all delivered, sent. Like, how the algorithm works. Toothbrushes and all that stuff now, as old people totally love that stuff. So all this stuff is done kind of early, and then anything that you need some real TLC and you want to make sure it's mint, I'll go into a retail location and pick that up. So that's really what the plan has been so far. And as you know, when you have really little kids, all they want are car keys and lids to containers. Yeah. So why do you need to buy anything?
Yeah.
So
you get them boxes with like a ribbon inside, and all they care about is the box. They don't give a crap about anything.
Just wrapping paper, wrap up stuff, and if Instagram and TikTok have shown me anything, all I have to do is wrap up, car keys, and I'm good to go.
My wife started laughing at my Christmas list when I put it together, because I put like, listen, I'm 47. I'm a man child, obviously, but I, stuff like some PS5 stuff and some clothes. But then I was like, oh, like a nice. Like a little bit like a longer cardigan sweater. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, with a nice t-shirt and a nice pair of dark blue jeans and my Adidas kicks. Like I think the look was not, and she was just like, you want a cardigan sweater? Like what? I said, yeah, like with the pockets up front, like she didn't hey Sarah says a smoking jacket. So funny. I actually also put a blazer that I can wear around with jeans and some of that. So I want to try to bring back the 80s and 90s.
Honestly, at that standpoint, I think we've all discovered as we've gotten older that less is more. Instead of buying 10 cheap items, buy the one really good item, especially when it comes to clothing. So I appreciate the fact that you said a nice cardigan or a jacket, because that's the true stuff that will survive a bit longer. As much as I enjoy all the t-shirts I bought in my life, majority of those bad boys are already gone or ripped or out the door. So
But I also think we're at an age, Stu, where we could probably, if you really want something, we can get it ourselves, right? So like that's why like the little things, you're like, do I really, like, oh sure, I could ask for this, 4K Blu-ray disc, but I mean I could just get it myself, but whatever, right? So but yeah, so we've got a lot to talk about tonight, the Heroes World Sidekick Show. So Stu and I did something a little bit different. We came up with an idea of movies that take place at Christmas but aren't technically Christmas movies. And so we're gonna have a little bit of discussion on some of our favorites, as well as some of your favorites. So let us know in the chat which some of the movies that you enjoy watching that kind of take place around Christmas but really aren't considered quote unquote Christmas movies. And I will say, if you've been a fan of this show or have watched the back catalog, some of these may have appeared on our favorite Christmas movies in the past. As well, we got some information of what's new in the store at Heroes World, some Christmas television shows Stu has, and I think we're going to kick it off quickly with a little bit of news. There wasn't a lot this past week, Stu. We are winding down. I would be remiss to if we didn't at least start off with probably the saddest news. But not like devastating, and that is the great Norman Lear passed away, 101 years old, passed away on Tuesday, peacefully at home of natural causes, as one would expect when you're 101. But this is a guy who helped create and really push the boundaries and the envelope of television and stage productions as well. Obviously, Archie Bunker. The Jeffersons, a staple of 70s and 80s television shows, and was always walking around with that pork pie hat, man. Up until even a few months ago when he was making the rounds. So, Norman Lear, the great Norman Lear. Thoughts?
It's one of those things where I think we're the last tail end that really experienced that type of television, because for us, and some of the people in the chat maybe even, we remember watching TV shows and reruns. We didn't have streaming options. So, there are shows from that time period that just replayed on, early in the morning or at the evening, and you just saw them and it became part of a regular. So a lot of those older shows, I do recall just watching a lot of episodes of various shows from that time period that I typically would not have watched now. But yeah, he's as Kevin Smith would say, a big bucket of wind. Like, this guy had a long life. All of us could, hope to be, of that age and also go out, with friends and family. So yeah, it's sad, but again, 101, baby. So
yeah,
it's good.
Like, it's not like tragic. People are like, some people are online going, "Oh no, I can't believe it." It's like, okay, but like, he's 101, right? Like, but yeah, you know what? Great contribution, and it will be interesting though of what his legacy will be, Stu, because a lot of those TV shows that you don't find them on reruns nowadays, or even sometimes hard to find streaming, because the content was so boundary pushing back then that it could be considered somewhat cringe-worthy now, and yet it's still applicable to today's age, right? So
don't worry, there'll be a reboot. There always is. Just like I never thought, speaking of RIP, I never thought they'd do The Odd Couple again, and there they were, Mr. Matthew Perry, doing an Odd Couple show with Tom Lennon. So I love them both, but it was very good to see that. So it is what it is.
Yesterday we got news that Sean Gunn, brother of James Gunn, who is obviously the co-head of DC Studios, has been tapped to play the villain Maxwell Lord in the new DC universe. And there's a lot of people who are online who are not too pleased or overly happy with this casting choice. I will say that Sean Gunn has been, obviously, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy as Kragan, I think is his name. He was also the Weasel in. I
don't care. There's only one role that matters. He is Kirk in Gilmore Girls. Put some respect on his name.
Well, no, I was talking specifically with the James Gunn, but yes, he has his own career outside of what James Gunn has done. But admittedly, the most recent work most people would recognize him from would have been in the
motion capture of Rocket Raccoon, and he does that and things like that nature.
So what are your thoughts though on Sean Gunn as Maxwell Lord? I mean, some people, I guess, I question Gunn on Threads because Gunn has left Twitter or X, whatever you call it, about he doesn't look like a really evil individual. And I think Gunn, and I'm paraphrasing, kind of said, why do we there's a lot of different incarnations of Maxwell Lord. Why are we assuming he's an evil guy all the time? So, what are your thoughts? Is this nepotism? Do you think it's the right person for the Maxwell Lord character? Do we have to wait and see how this whole plays out? What do you think?
I think we talked about this with one of our fears, and I think all of us had that in mind too, where, I think James Gunn, as much as we love him, he has a history of hiring, his friends and family in films, which is fine.
Yep.
It's one thing when it's like, oh, here's Rob Zombie as like a, like an background actor or part of the Ravengers, or like here's this friend of a friend who plays an assistant non-speaking role. And that's fine. These are not Martin Scorsese, like, I want to bring back Leo DiCaprio in all my films. That's not the same type of relationship, or Tarantino bring back Samuel L. Jackson. Maxwell Lord is an interesting character because he has the propensity to be bigger and can take on the Justice League. And it's just not something that people can see based on that. And that's maybe our fault because, in the pictures of Maxwell Lord, usually he's wearing a very fit black t-shirt and with muscles hanging out the sides.
Yeah.
So it is something that, it doesn't fit the visual. But we all knew that, the fact that he didn't sever the DC universe is like, yeah, I want to keep Peacemaker and kind of pick and choose the things that I want to continue on the DC universe to have a clean sweep. Because, he's recasting Superman. So all of a sudden that gets rid of Henry Cavill. So this is kind of the murky waters we kind of thought that was going to get him in trouble. And, I think it's going to be the same with this casting as well. Like, no one's going to love it because, again, the same thing. It's like, you're trying to show people that you aren't just doing this, and, you've left being wanting. Right?
Yeah. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about is probably what may have been just the biggest news of last week. We got a trailer that came out Monday night. It was supposed to drop on Tuesday morning at 9:00 Eastern, but those silly little hackers got in there and leaked it online Monday evening. So Rockstar said, "Okay, fine, don't watch a crappy copy. Watch the official trailer of Grand Theft Auto 6." I don't know if you are a big Grand Theft Auto fan, Stu, or what your history is. I know that I've played it since 3, 3 Vice City, San Andreas on. Admittedly, I kind of got lost in the weeds with 4. I was like, I didn't want to take people on dates. I didn't want to look at my page, or I didn't want to go to, to look at my email and figure stuff out. And 5, I didn't really get the chance to play too much of it. Just had other things going on. But 6 to me looks absolutely ridiculous. It's so crazy what they're doing with graphics nowadays. But this thing broke the internet for a couple of days in terms of the discussion over the trailer. What are your thoughts? Are you excited? What are your thoughts on the trailer? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's funny, and the rumors was that it was a kid of one of the people that leaked. Yeah. It wasn't the internet hacker. It was essentially there was a child of an employee who basically said, for internet clout, decided to leak it, not thinking, oh my gosh, they would find that it's me and that my father works there. So yeah, that's a thing. I am old enough to remember downloading the original Grand Theft Auto on my computer and playing it when it was just a drop-down approach and you had a little man moving back and forth to the vehicles. I loved every version of it. I didn't really go as I guess as buck wild in this series, but I did kind of follow through each title, whether it was GTA 1 and then moving over to Vice City and then San Andreas. I know it broke all the records on the internet about most views in a certain time frame and whatnot. I agree. Rockstar's done a really good job of monetizing the last few years. They've re-released it a few times and added some more dollars to it. I'm a little sad that it's not available on PC, but that seems to be part of its, strategy to come out and also not be 1080p or 4K right off the bat. It's going to really kind of slow the refresh rate. So just
have they confirmed that?
Yeah, it's not gonna come out for PC. It's only PS5, Xbox Series right now, and then they're also capping the frame rates, which makes sense because again, they're concerned about they don't want the same debacle that will happen with Cyberpunk. So I think they're just taking the best measures in place, and the early adopters will try it out to have it right off the bat.
Yeah.
I do like Lewis. I do think it's really funny that all the people in Florida that they use the memes. The Florida Joker, hilariously enough, is trying to sue Rockstar for $2 million for identity theft. But then everyone here is like, wait, didn't you steal your persona from DC's The Joker? So
Yeah.
that's kind of weird too. So there's some fun stuff going on right now in terms of what to expect. But yeah, like you're right. I'm gonna wait till it comes out on PC. I think that's the right thing for me. But just like Starfield, I'm never an early adopter. I kind of wait till things balance out.
Yeah, I guess for me, it'll depend on when this thing drops. Now, I mean, the end title card said 2025. I think people were really shocked about that. But at an earnings call just a few months ago, Rockstar said they expected a huge influx of revenue at the first
Yeah.
quarter of 2025, which would put you into the early spring of 2025. So you might be getting like an April, May release of GTA 5. So
Or
I don't
just
know.
before
Would
the
I
holiday
be?
season.
What's that?
Or just before the holiday season of next year, we could be sitting here going for Hollow, just coming out for Christmas.
Of 2024, you think
Yeah,
so?
potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you sell the most copies.
Yeah. Although, do you think though? I think that GTA 6. I don't know if it would make a difference regardless of the time of year. I think it's just gonna. I think it's gonna just rake in the cash. It doesn't matter.
I think for the older folk of us, I would appreciate it being in the holidays because there's more time off to play the game, as
Right.
opposed to the middle of the summer where there's much more competition for eyeballs. But it makes sense to make it the biggest buzz, the biggest game, and also gives you more time to fix the servers. I can imagine also, or maybe they don't, because if everyone tries to log in on Christmas Day, I can imagine the whole thing falling apart, and that would also be some bad
Well,
news.
their last big release was Red Dead Redemption 2, and that came out in October of 2018. So, and it did massive sales throughout the October, like the
I'm
following.
still playing that game. I'm
Yeah.
still playing that game.
In fact, I just uploaded it again. I got my copy back from a buddy, and I just started playing about 2 nights ago. I was like, all right, let's get back in because I'm going to play Red Dead 2 and then go into Red Dead 1.
Yeah.
So that's okay, cool. So that was the news, Stu. Thank you so much. John has sent me an email this evening on stuff in this store. And so I'm going to give a showcase. He's got some omnibuses that are on sale. Now, of course, you guys know that I'm a big fan of the Omnis. I think, Stu, you might have a few of them as well. For those who are not familiar with what an omnibus is, essentially it's a great big collected edition of stories of comics that usually could run anywhere between 850 pages up to 1,300 pages, right? So they're huge. So John has some. I'm going to show some here to you. He's got this Batman and Robin, which is by Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. Actually, I think I have it on my shelf behind me. Oh, well, you can't see on the camera. Over there. Now, so John, what they're doing is they're going to be doing everything is on sale right now on U.S. prices. So U.S. cover in Canadian. So this is right here is on for $150. Again, it's U.S. cover price, but it's yours for $150 Canadian. Super Sons. No, sorry, we're gonna go Superman Batman by Jeff Loeb. This is $125 in the store right now. Super Sons. Here we are again. Another Tomasi book with Jorge Jimenez. This is $125. You have Young Justice is $150. This is Peter David. Now, was this taken off some of the of the Young Justice cartoon? Was it kind of influenced by this book? Do you know? Or no?
I think they're a little different still.
Okay. Okay, cool. So Young Justice is $150, and then he's got Wonder Woman by Gail Simone is $100. So some good deals, and I'm going to tell you what. Right? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you guys right now. I need you to listen very carefully. For those who are listening online right now or after the fact, this is why you need to be paying attention. So the month of December. Today is December what did I say? The 10th. The entire month of December. If you call John at Heroes World, or you email him, you find him on socials, and you said, hey, Rob said we can get an extra 10% off, he's going to honor that. So there you go. Wonder Woman is $100. Young Justice is $150. Super Sons is $125. Superman Batman by Jeff Loeb is 125 and Batman and Robin is 150. But if you tell John that Rob sent you for the month of December 2023, it's an extra 10% off. So there you go. You're welcome. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Nice. Did you see that? Did you see quickly? I know we're past news thing, but I just remembered something. Did you read or hear the thing about Natalie Portman and King Charles?
No.
So Natalie Portman was kind of telling a story about how when she met Prince Charles back at the premiere of Phantom Menace, he asked her if she was in the original Star Wars film, and her answer was, "No, I'm 18."
Wow.
Not possible, but one of those things I was just laughing inside. I'm like, yep, yeah.
Do you think because he's just so awkward, he is, and do you think that afterwards he was like, "Oh, you idiot"?
It makes me probably he never has seen Star Wars. To be fair, I'm pretty sure he's like, "What is Star Wars? You know,
what is this war and stars?
What is this thing?" And then, yeah, so it is. But let me jump to my question before. So I think you alluded to it. We saw the other day that Tarantino he owns the New Beverly Theater in LA, and he always schedules an unconventional holiday double feature on Christmas Day. His two movies he does, which I love, and I'll remove them from the choices because I think they're both beyond ours, is Die Hard and 3 Days of Condor, which is one of my favorite all-time movies. For those who don't know, 3 Days Over Condor is a story about the wonderful Robert Redford playing like a book analyst for the CIA. The stunning Faye Dunaway is in this film. He basically works for CIA. Imagine this, reading books from around the world, the newspaper articles, trying to suss out if there are messages in there. That's his department. He finds out all of everyone's dead, goes back to the office, and now is in this 3 days of New York City, running around trying to try to get out of there without being killed. Max von Sydow is in it. He's incredible. And Cliff Robertson, OG from the original Spider-Man series.
Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben is also in this film with a beautiful mustache. So it is a great kind of movie where the nuance of just the music of Silent Night and a lot of this very somber music in the background as Robert Redford's running through the streets of New York City is just one of those things where it just kind of etched in my brain. So to you, Rob, I ask you, if you had two movies that you could set up for a theater, you go, you know what? Quentin, take the day off. I got my two unconventional Christmas films. What are you doing back to back? What are your two films that take place in Christmas but aren't necessarily Christmas films?
So I'm struggling because one of these ones is one that I watch every Christmas. But I'm going to go with a Shane Black double bill, and I'm going to go Lethal Weapon. 1987, which is again one of I love watching movies, especially at Christmas time, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Give us a little bit of give us, for those who haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, give us a quick hit of what is that movie?
It's a Christmas in Los Angeles. Robert Downey Jr. Is robbing a toy store for cash and toys. And they all meet at this like holiday party, and Michelle Monaghan, who spends half of the movie wearing a velvet Santa dress. I'm looking at a summary here. It's been quite some time since I've seen it. But Shane Black is known for having most of his movies that he writes and directs or generally takes place at Christmas, a la Iron Man 3. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was a movie that kind of brought Robert Downey Jr. back into the periphery of Hollywood after his issues with substance abuse, and he was in jail for some time. This predates
this was Iron right Man. After he was fired from Ally McBeal.
Right.
That was his Robert Downey's back on a TV show, and he got fired from that because of substance abuse. And
right, and so this obviously predates his role in Iron Man, but Shane Black is a 2005 movie, and I mean I can look at another summary if you guys want.
No, it's clearly you're not You don't remember the film,
it's been
so
a
it's not
really
that
long
memorable.
time since I've seen it. Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, Michelle Monaghan, as I said. It's 2005, and I think I might have saw it in and around that time. But I remember just thinking,
How
like,
about I give you an easy? What the heck is Lethal Weapon? Can you even a little thing about Lethal Weapon?
sure as shit I can, buddy. All
What?
right.
No, for the kids back home who haven't seen Lethal Weapon. What's Lethal Weapon about?
Oh my god. Okay, there's this cop who's a few days from his retirement, played by Danny Glover, Roger Murtaugh, who's just too old for this shit. He gets paired with Mel Gibson, who is pretty much one of those cops on Suicide Watch, who it might be a little bit crazy. He lost his wife the year before. It takes place around Christmas time, and unfortunately, one of Murtaugh's old Vietnam War buddies. This obviously dates the movie because it takes place in '87. But one of his old Nam buddies, his daughter is dead. Maybe she's been killed. They're not too sure. And it turns out to be it's a great big drug smuggling situation as to bringing drugs off the port into Los Angeles. And only Roger Murtaugh and oh my god. Murtaugh and Riggs can save the day and stop the evil forces as portrayed by Mr. Joshua, who is Gary Busey, who has a penchant for putting his arm over a lighter and trying to burn himself. So it takes place around Christmas time. It stars Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. His dad is in the opening scene at the Christmas tree lot, and and it also has Darlene Love. How do you not have? I mean, it's a Christmas movie right there. You have Darlene Love, who was on the Letterman show singing her famous Christmas song for I think it was something like 27 straight years. So that is Lethal Weapon. That is Shane Black, who obviously he did not direct it. It was directed by Richard Donner. However, he did write the movie. He was the author of the screenplay and the characters. Lethal Weapon. So there we go.
Very nice, very nice. If I had to go, my two, I think a proper order would be man. I think I would do man. Okay, if I was to do my double feature, I think it would be I think it would this is okay. I think it would start with Batman Returns as my the first of the double bill. Batman Returns, that whole movie is so weird and so Christmassy that it
So
really
amazing.
kind of fits in, and then roll on into Rocky IV as my number 2 bill. Rocky IV as he's training in the gulag in the snow, and it's Christmas time. He's trying to fight Ivan Drago, because starts in 4th of July and then goes to Christmas. And that's kind of the arc of how long it takes for Rocky to get into shape. That would be my kind of two. Start with the somberness of Batman Returns, then end with the joy that is Rocky IV.
Didn't you already do a duo? 3 Days of the Condor and something?
That's Tarantino.
Oh, okay. Because you know what's really funny? I was thinking Batman Returns, again, one of my most...
Yeah.
I love that movie. You know how high up I regard that movie. But I was thinking for a double bill on Christmas, that and Gremlins.
Yes, I was thinking about Gremlins too. It was Gremlins is a good one. Like of course Iron Man 3, Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas technically counts. Long Kiss Goodnight is another great oldie. That takes place technically Kisses Bang, Lethal Weapon, Catch Me If You Can has a couple big Christmas scenes with Frank calling about Christmas and stuff. LA Confidential. I was thinking real hard about In Bruges as my other one too, because I love that movie. And then of course the other one too that I was thinking, and I'm like, I couldn't justify. It doesn't fit with Rocky, but it would be Little Women. That would be another one.
I gotta say, I'm surprised that the Godfather wasn't on there for you.
I had to do a double bill, so I was thinking of what makes sense as like a 2 feature. I think Holy Movie itself is one, but you gotta bring your way through, because Batman Returns by itself is too damn dark. But then the joy that is Apollo Creed, and then going up the different flow, and even to your 2 movies, like I think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang would be first,
Yes.
And then Lethal Weapon is the next one because you want to walk away with a double feature feeling like this is great. Because you start there, you want your intermission, buy some more snacks, and go back and watch other films. You kind of want that combo.
So we are talking about movies that take place at Christmas that are considered Christmas movies, but they could be. You totally could watch these things. Like, for instance, probably the biggest one out of all is The Sound of Music. It is what a Christmas staple. It's on TV every year. Usually, I want to say Christmas Eve or the 23rd. It's usually like this big feature that's on there, especially in CTV up in Canada here. I've never seen it. I passed by it playing. My mom threatened to make me watch it one year. Then I got in trouble and she grounded me, and I was like, oh well, can't watch a movie. But it takes place. People love watching that movie at Christmas time. The Sound of Music takes place at Christmas, but it's not a conventional Christmas movie. Now, Lewis has a question, and he asks, "Is Deadpool a Christmas movie?"
I think the Christmas edition would count. The one with with
a very merry Deadpool.
Yes, that would count. Because that would be a combination of that and
Sarah asked, I said, Violent Night is going to be on her Christmas movie watch list every year. So I would consider this. Now, I saw this in the theaters last year. David Harbour as Santa Claus, directed by, it wasn't Chad Stahelski, but it's out of that group of guys from the, was it 27 North, I think it's called, or whatever their production company is. Yeah, I would consider this to be a Christmas movie from now on. Have you seen Violent Night?
We did a review on it, so yes, I hope so.
Okay, you did? Okay. Yeah,
we did a review. Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Not that memorable. All right, got it. Cool.
Yeah. Great. We've done a lot of shows, Stu. What do you want me to do? Okay. So
I like it. I think we all agree we liked it a lot. I think it's one of those films that I don't know if I would want to watch it every year. Maybe it's it's a leap year situation. Maybe it's every 4 years I'll get back to it. I think that there's so many Hollywood films or non-traditional ones you want to watch. And I'm not even including all the crappy like Christmas Prince and all those terrible Lifetime movies that are kind of are
our friend Tim loves that shit. He loves all those Lifetime Christmas movies. I have zero.
Yeah, they're in the mix. So you only have so many hours in the day. So Christmas Prince, 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 of those films, and then the other Lindsay Lohan Netflix one. I forget what one's called, where she's like an heiress and gets amnesia. That's another one that's in John's wheelhouse. So yeah.
So John and I had a discussion last year. Might have been actually 2 years ago. I don't remember now. When we did a review of Die Hard, and we had the whole discussion of whether or not it's a Christmas movie. And then we watched Die Hard 2, which takes place at exactly the same time this 1 year later. Yep. But it's not considered. Nobody ever considers that to be a Christmas.
It's an airport. Yeah, it's a Christmas film. Yeah,
sure. But like, so what are your thoughts on like Die Hard 2? Do you? I mean, I can't speak for you. I'm going to assume that you don't hold it with the same reverence that you do with Die Hard 1. But why is Die Hard 2 never in the mix of a Christmas movie when the first one is?
I think Die Hard 1 is so iconic, just the John McClane and the Christmas party. It's more relatable, I guess, in terms of it's the first one that you can think of, and it's been spoofed so many times, whether it's in Community or other TV shows where you're wearing the tank top shirt and with no shoes, and it is something that people can relate to because they typically will be, even if you don't fly, at a company Christmas party, and this is what happens at Nakatomi Towers. So it is something that it makes a lot of sense. The second movie is probably not as much because, again, the fact that Tarantino brings it up as one of his 2 films for Christmas, and it's the kind of the cool thing to say when you're like, oh, my favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. The first one's the thing. It's like we talk about Godfather as well, but it's Godfather 1, not Godfather 2 or 3. So it's like, why would you ever talk about the other ones? So
Die Hard actually made it
like Godfather 1 is superior.
Right. Die Hard made an appearance in theaters this weekend. It was re-released this weekend, and I really wanted to go. I just didn't have the time to go see it, and it's kind of bummed me out, to be honest with you, because I would have loved to have seen that in theaters again. I just have a funny sneaking suspicion it's going to be one of those movies that will play every couple of years back in theaters.
Yeah, totally.
Around the holidays. I don't see why it wouldn't. Like, I'm looking at it right now. It's on again tomorrow. in theaters potentially around you, and up to Wednesday or Thursday. So maybe
Hey, the television, the film industry is in trouble right now, so they got to do what they can. If they can re-release these films and add some money to their coffers, if that's what the theaters need to survive, so be it, because they're taking a beating. So if it is, I do remember the time when I was lucky enough to go when TIFF Lightbox replayed Blade Runner.
okay.
And I had the time of my life, like walking in TIFF Lightbox house and watching Blade Runner with my friend Donna. It was the best. I was like, geez, this is the best. I couldn't believe it. It's like watching a big screen with that, and going to TIFF Lightbox was interesting because again, there were no trailers. We sat down, the movie just started. I was like, what is happening? Movie boom, it just went straight ahead. No, like, turn off your cell phone. Well, I was like, it was one of the most joyous. I was like, and I could laugh because anyone who showed up late, they're like, yeah, there's no buffer. This movie's starting the moment it says it is. So it's one of my favorite film moments to experience, because now it's 30 minutes before the movie starts.
Unfortunately, right? Okay, so what else is on your list, or things that you thought about movies that take place at Christmas that aren't considered Christmas movies?
Well, I think we can pivot quickly to TV shows in regards to it, because everyone, every show, typically network, does a Christmas episode each year. When you have 24, 21 episodes a year, you gotta come up with stuff, and a lot of Christmas episodes are made. It makes sense for the characters to experience it and see things. So I guess to you, Rob, do you have any Christmas episodes on top of your mind that you regard as your favorite, or things that you would, just like movies that you want to watch once a year? Of course, removing the Rudolphs, and those are television specials, but removing them from it, I'm talking about a TV show series that you could see these characters kind of experience Christmas.
Yeah, so it's so funny because a lot of times, actually, I felt like Christmas episodes were a lot of the looking back, right? Remember, like, everybody would sit around the table and have their discussions about the year past or whatever, and it was just like a clips episode. But into like the 90s and 2000s is then when shows then started kind of actually having dedicated Christmas episodes. The one that always gets me, that I watch not all the time, but that when you first said this to me off camera, it came to mind, is The West Wing. I've said before, I'm a huge fan of Aaron Sorkin's West Wing, especially those early seasons. And this is season 2. It was episode 10. It was called Noel. And so if you're not a fan of The West Wing or don't know about what happened in the first season, at the end of the first season, somebody tried to assassinate the president, and Josh Lyman, his chief of staff, essentially was shot, and our assistant chief of staff, and he was shot. And he comes back into the second season, a little bit shaken up or whatnot, but it kind of doesn't really get addressed until you get into this episode, and he starts suffering from PTSD, hearing the horns playing in the White House, the drums. He starts having horrible flashbacks, and he's very irritated and anxious and whatnot. And the president's his boss, Leo, calls in a psychiatrist, or no, a psychologist, I guess. He's a PTSD expert, as played just to perfection by Adam Arkin. And they talk about the actual the situation that happened and why things had happened. And Josh had cut his hand and everything. He said, I had stumbled down some stairs. And you find out throughout the course of the episode that he punched glass, and he was having these reoccurring PTSD issues of what had happened 6 months prior that had never really been addressed. And juxtaposed with him going through this, and juxtaposed with the the holidays and the cheerfulness and everything else. And to be very honest with you, for me, I felt like this was around when I first saw this, one of the first episodes that really kind of dealt with PTSD and actually diagnosing it, and that somebody needed help because they were having this issue. Absolutely phenomenal episode, and it completely rocks me when I and I don't watch it every year because it is pretty heavy stuff. But when I do want to sit down and watch something that I want to, I love the rat-a-tat-tat of the language of the episodes. This is the one I would put on and watch and just be like, wow, just absolutely powerful, because I love listen, I love Christmas. I love all that shit, but there is something about juxtaposing it with something so fierce and primal and mental, for lack of a better term, that I love it. So yeah, The West Wing, season 2, episode 10 is called Noel.
Nice.
How about you?
On a more joyous tone, it's Community season 3, episode 10 or 11, regional holiday music. It's a really stupid episode where I think it's Taran Killam from SNL. Jeff gets rid of the Glee Club, and they need to put on a musical for Greendale. So it's kind of like there's a couple musical moments in it where each kind of cast member gets to get tricked into joining it, and it's that moment where it's kind of the like trance, where each song gets them, it turns them into those, what's the movie with Children of the Corn moment, where they all kind of get wrapped up in the moment.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people look back at the the other episode from Community where it's all claymation, and they look at that one, but with John Oliver. But I think this one is more whimsical and stupid because it kind of hits all the moments. They have Pete Donald Glover doing a Jehovah's Witness rap, and they get Jeff with the Santa Baby song, and each one's kind of works very well as the characters. But I didn't want to mention the other episode that I think that arcans your tone, because you talk about the West Wing. If I had to choose something that's very serious that I could only watch every once in a while, it would be The Bear, season 2, episode 6, Fishes.
Right.
It is a supersized. Remember back in the day when they're like, we're going to do a supersized episode of something?
Yeah.
It is perfect. It is something I enjoy because I've never had that type of drama happen at a family get-together, knock on wood. So I appreciate that happens there, and hopefully it will never happen to me in real life where, things are thrown. But it is kind of one of those joyous moments to get to see it. And anytime you see John Barathol, I'm all on board. So it's a very good, fun kind of episode. And yeah, to Lewis's point, it's gimme. Doctor Who Christmas episodes, it happens every year. So we're gonna pick one. That's a good point, Rob. You watch a lot of Doctor Who, which one's your favorite Doctor Who Christmas episode?
Okay, so I have a second choice. Only because when I saw Lewis's, it reminded me. So obviously we talked about West Wing. One of my favorite TV shows as well is The Lost, and there's an episode called The Constant. Now, did you watch The Lost?
Okay, I was gonna say that was another one too. Yeah, Desmond. Yes, I was gonna say. Yeah,
because if you're a fan of Lost, if you're a fan of Love, okay, that's even more important. Because essentially what it is Desmond is one of the characters, and you don't really, if you've never watched Lost, but you want to watch one episode of the series and you think this would be a great one, his consciousness is traveling back and forth in time to himself, and his constant is his girlfriend Penny, and the more he keeps switching times where his conscious is going back and forth between his younger self and his present day self, the more it gets, more he could potentially be dying. But he has to keep his constant has to be one thing in both timelines, and it has to be. He decides it's going to be his girlfriend Penny, who he has a very tumultuous relationship with, and you find out that he says, please, I need you to pick up the phone on December 25th at 6 o'clock in the evening or 8 o'clock in the evening or whatever. Just, what are you talking about? He goes, just trust me, Penny. I need you to remember to pick up that phone. And sure enough, 15 or 12 years later, or whatever it is, the phone rings, the camera zooms up through the window in the Christmas tree. And you think that's it. He's like, she's not picking up. He's got the blood running down his nose. He's about to pass out. And she picks up the phone, and all of a sudden that stops the rubber band from snapping. It goes back taut again, and she's like, oh my God. And he's like, you picked up. And she goes, of course I did. I remembered. So The Constant from Lost. That's when I saw Lewis's. So I just had to throw that in there. So Lewis had said, I'm always good to pop on the Doctor Who Christmas episode. So there have been a lot, right? Since 2005, there's been, was it eight Christmas episodes or
Pretty
so?
much everything since Tenet. There's been a holiday episode since then, right? From the new stuff. We're talking about the new episodes.
Yeah, New Who, right?
So everything, I think.
So which is my favorite?
The start was the Christmas Invasion. That was the first one.
Was the first one.
Tenet. Yep.
Yeah. So
And then
I
there
have a
was
special
Runaway
place in my
Bride,
heart.
Voyage of the Damned, The Next Doctor,
Yeah.
End of Time Part 1,
Yeah.
End of Time Part 2, A Christmas Carol, The Doctor, The Window and the Wardrobe, The Snowman, The Time of the Doctor, Last Christmas, The Husbands of River Song, The Return of Doctor Mysterio, Twice Upon a Time, Resolution, Spyfall Part 1, Revolution of the Darlax, Eve of the Darlax,
Oh my God.
and the next one coming up is The Church on Ruby Road.
Right. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to go by with Time of the Doctor because it was so iconic, right? I mean, like that was the whole thing. I mean, you got to see Tom Baker reprise his role. Although he was never called the doctor, he was called the librarian, I think, or something,
Yeah.
right? You know, the painting. It was the art gallery. Yeah, so I would have to probably go with. Although it's so funny because I never really consider that to be a Christmas episode. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really take place at Christmas.
It's the 25th of December, 2023, or 2013.
2013.
So that's a Christmas episode by Stephen Moffat. So
I know, but it doesn't take place at Christmas, is what I'm saying.
I know, but it's the whole Doctor Who holiday special that comes out during Christmas. So
because if I was to take a Doctor Who episode that takes place at Christmas proper, I would probably do the Christmas Invasion, the first one, with the first Tenant. I just loved how he's like, I mean, most of it, he's in bed, to be honest with you, most of it. And then he was just so polarizing, and he's like, Sansuma, who can, he's got like this Clementine in his pocket, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't know what type of man I am. And then all of a sudden, the thing happens with the blood guy. And then he goes, no second chances. That's the type of man I am, right? So I was like, all right, I'm down with that. So
it's the Shadow Proclamation episode where Rose tries to bring that out. So yeah, that's the tricky one with that episode. I enjoy it a lot because, and I know you're not a big fan of Rose Tyler, so that's a big move by you. So
thank you.
You're not a big fan of her, and that's a lot of her in it. Yeah, I think, man, if I couldn't do the Time of the Doctor, if we had to do draft, I think the Snowman is going to be my one if I were to pick the one, because that's a good one. That's after kind of the loss of Amy and Rory. He goes on that trip and he meets with his group, which is basically like Strax and like basically his team of like Victorian like misfits and the Supreme Intelligence. So that was great.
But the best part of that episode though is because it's Clara, but it's not really Clara, it's a version of her.
Yeah.
And then he takes the stupid staircase all the way up into the clouds.
Yeah.
And then he shows her the inside of the new TARDIS because they had just reinvented the interior, right?
Refreshed the desktop, as they would say. But I'm a big fan, as you know, of Old Man Loki. So anytime Richard E. Grant is in it, then I'm like, dude, he was so good. Because that's a thing. And then quickly, I know this is off tangent. Doctor Who, for those who haven't seen it, I and Rob are both caught up on all three. So those of you who don't know, we'll talk about it momentarily. But I'm a big fan of kind of the Matt Smith arc in that, because he gets to really shine a bit more. And as the the Great Intelligence said, like, this guy has had many names, the Valorant and like all these names, the Beast and whatnot. Like, there's a very kind of other side of the Doctor that the Great Intelligence, mentions a lot. So it's a thing. But can I get your general thoughts for the Doctor Who, the three specials that just now that we've seen all three now, Rob? What are your general thoughts
on all three as a whole?
Yeah,
I'm glad
last week we talked about just one episode, but now that they're complete, what do you think?
I'm glad they exist. I started thinking about it because remember when David Tennant did his last run and he did was it 3 or 4?
I think it was 4, right? Man. I think it was 4 because he did the thing, the Waters of Mars.
Water of Mars.
Yeah, he did that, and then he did it felt like it was like 3 long episodes, but Yeah. Well, I'll check. But yes, talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was thinking like which specials are better, right? Because I kind of feel like some of those episodes, those specials that he did, kind of fall by the wayside. I don't think people really consider them because they're not part of the seasons, right? They didn't have a season for that year. So as a whole, I'm glad they exist. I will say I think I thought that episode 3 would have been my absolute favorite until stuff happens at the end. I really
Yeah.
liked episode 2.
Yep.
I thought that was classic scary, kind of quasi scary type Doctor Who. But
Yep.
I will say that Neil Patrick Harris as the toy maker absolutely kills it. Like,
Yep.
just so phenomenal. I would love to see him back again, right? Like, I thought he was great. In fact, I would rather take him as a villain than another master, like Sasha, nothing against Sasha Dewan. But I mean, I thought Neil Patrick Harris just absolutely brought pure villainy to his role as a toy maker.
What are you talking about? You didn't love him in Iron Fist either? He's kind of had the just bad luck in terms of some projects.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed them all. I do think though that like number 1 would probably be my least favorite out of the 3. I'm glad they exist. I'm looking forward to the Christmas episode that comes up in a couple of weeks, and then I think the new season is it? I don't know if it's going to be the fall. It might be the fall it comes out or the spring. They've already finished filming. It's been in the can for about 5 months now. So.
Yeah. So the episodes are The Next Doctor, Planet of the Dead, The Waters of Mars, and then a double, The End of Time Part 1, End of Time Part 2. So technically 4 episodes of Tennant in that kind of final run.
Right.
But I think we can do a spoiler. We can talk about that quickly. For I think we can add that to it for spoilers of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Put that tag up there. I honestly, John's not going to go through this. It's too much for him. Just for those who may or may not watch the episode, they're all on Disney Plus. So if you do not want to be spoiled, we're just going to brush on this very quickly. So spoiler alert tab or whatnot. The Doctor, let's just say that Russell T Davies has told us several times that the 3rd episode, something's going to happen that's not canonical and it's very different and it's going to be very controversial. This whole 3 runs of episodes have been that in terms of just shaking things up. And there's a big ebb and flow in terms of Doctor Who, just for history, and then we'll get into momentarily, where typically they course correct in the show to the extreme. Eccleston was too dark and too kind of weird, so they go happy with David Tennant, and then they got too much goofiness. You go to Matt Smith. Matt Smith is kind of that balance. There's some sadness, happiness. Oh, too much happiness. Go to Capaldi. Capaldi's really sad. Whoa, too sad. Let's bring this back up. Too grumpy. So they go to this ebb and flow of like switching it back, and I think that people have, not been thrilled with the last couple seasons of Doctor Who, and then now with this kind of, and these are the spoilers. So again, if you haven't seen what happens, the toy maker who is canonical but kind of weird because he disappeared in the annals, had split the Doctor into a bi-generational split. So typically when the Doctor regenerates, it's one to another, and then they will disappear. So this one, they allow them to keep both together. They all both have their own TARDISes. So essentially now you have 13, 14, and 15 both existing in their own universes with their own characters kind of same time. So where typically the Doctor has a sad moment and he never gets to your point, talking about PTSD, have that time to recover from PTSD. This Doctor 14 has that time and he kind of just sits down and hangs out with Donna. And the other one's going to go for adventure. This is a little bit kind of already been done because the other Doctor with the one heart got to live the life he wanted, and they gave him up to a parallel universe without a TARDIS, and now there's 2 TARDISes. And to further confuse everyone now that Russell Davies is basically like, in his mind, every Doctor has been resurrected, and they're all in the universe. So essentially there are 14 others who are just gallivanting around, which if you feel the disturbance in the Force, there's a disturbance in the force. There's too many good guys now that it doesn't make sense.
No.
So
and you're never gonna see them. Like, it's just so stupid. This is what made those specials, like when you had like the 3 doctors and then the 4 doctors come back, and then even with Matt Smith when he brought back David Tennant for his in his special, and then that the one that I was just mentioning, the Time of the Doctor, where they all kind of you had that scene. They took out the clips from the series and they all kind of came together. Like, that's what made it so special. And then now you're saying, oh, those very special fleeting those Halley's Comet type moments that you only ever see once every 25 years or whatever. Now they're all out there at the same, like, just like, come on, man. Like, I really had an issue. I love the regeneration scenes. I love the ending of something and the beginning of something else. I think it's great. And then all of a sudden for them to like split into 2. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. First of all, we knew the regeneration scene was gonna happen. I didn't think it was gonna be that soon. When then all of a sudden the Toymaker blasts him with that massive laser, it cuts right through him, leaving no scar mark, which weird, whatever. And I was like, and he starts regenerating. I was like, wow, that's a boss move. Like, taking him out right like this, and then having still almost 20 minutes of an episode with your new guy carrying a torch forward, I thought was boss. I was like, RTD, Russell Davis, nailed it. And then all of a sudden, he's like, wait, he stops regenerating. He's like, this feels weird. He goes, grab my arms. And all of a sudden he becomes, Stretchman and,
Stretch Armstrong. Respect on his name.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Chuti Gatwa, all of a sudden comes out, and it's 2 of them like this, like looking at each other, like Siamese, twins attached at the hip, and then they separate into 2 different individuals. And you're like, what the hell am I looking at? What have you done? So then I thought, okay, the 2 of them combined to take out the Toymaker. And I thought, when he was, Tennant, it's okay. I understand what you're going through. He's giving him the hug. 15's giving 14 a hug. I thought at that moment, then his energy would dissipate, and he would be absorbed by 15, and that would be it. No, like you said, now you see him. 14's fucked off to somewhere in London, hanging out, having high tea and crumpets with Donna and her family. And I thought, okay, they're giving him like the last few minutes. This would be a good time for him to just kind of look and just kind of fade away, and the energy be reabsorbed. No, he's hanging out. Now you got 2 TARDISes. Why do you have 2, Stu? Because they took a silly hammer and dunked the side of it, and it created a duplicate. It makes 0 sense. I'm so pissed about this.
So I think at the end of the day, this next Doctor is going to, and I understand why Russell T. Davies did it, because even before he talked about, hey, when the regeneration is a special thing, and when we regenerated from a woman to a man, we didn't feel as comfortable that David Tennant should be wearing women's clothing. Like, it's just, people are not comfortable with a very conservative Britain. So we just basically spent one off. He got a suit regeneration, because in that holiday episode where like he goes to the closet and finds clothing and whatnot, like that was part of the fun thing about, no more leather jacket. He's going to wear a suit again. That's what he wants to do. That was a fun little moment where he decides that. This one, the next Doctor, I can see they're going for big swings, and if it doesn't work, they're going to bring them back together and merge it. The fact that his sonic screwdriver is basically not a screwdriver, it's like a remote.
It's a remote control.
It's a remote control.
Yeah.
So, but I love
the movie Click.
I do love the Gallifreyan dial that talks about the sharper wit is better than the sharper spear. Like, I love. There's the little like crystal that's it, like a Kyber crystal, like a la Star Wars, that runs it. Like, there are nuances to this Doctor. Like, and you watch the preview and he's dancing and whatnot. I'm like, a lot of people are going to be very uncomfortable with this because they're not used to seeing this. A woman was already hard, and now, as a black man who, identifies as a gay man who's going to bring some of those nuances to the character, a lot of people are going to be very, very uncomfortable. So I think they kind of laid the groundwork, like, hey, don't worry, just in case your Doctor's still around, don't worry about it. Like, we go from there, because I think that they're planning it because they have that kind of pull in case of emergency. If they go too far, then go back, because I think, a lot of storylines in the last couple seasons people didn't like, not because of more because bad writing, not necessarily for the character herself, but same thing. Like there's gonna be some weird things, and as Russell T Davies is a gay man, this is kind of the Doctor he's been hoping to write for, and maybe there'll be some things along the way that will change. So I just think it's just like the best case scenario is this, because again, don't worry, you still got yours, and if we can do it, we'll pull them back together, because people would lose their minds already. Like the fact that when they brought in the last series, they brought in, another woman as like an spoiler, shown that she was also a doctor. People were not happy, so it's one of those things where, yeah, it's probably it's good to have that flexibility.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna show. So this is what that new sonic screwdriver looks like.
Yeah, and I think Jodie did the best she could do, and I think also I love kind of this Eccleston type of vibe. Like, don't go suit, do a thing, do a vest. But like again, this is a very confident man, and if you watch Sex Education, which I did, I loved him in it. He was fantastic, and I can see some of the energy in it, even in a little bit of a trailer. But it's going to be different for a lot of people, and they might not be comfortable with it. So.
Yeah, so I have no problem with the character, with which way they're going. I agree. There will be people who are going to be upset. I mean, we saw the trailer for it, and he's doing that, that dance in a club with his shirt white. It's a very different take. I have no problem with that. I actually didn't have any problem with Jodie Whittaker. The idea of Jodie Whittaker, I just think, to be honest with you, I thought that the showrunner for the time, Chris Chibnall,
awful.
Awful. I think there was a few really good episodes. There's a lot of controversy about the Timeless Child, the idea of it, but man, there's something that was there that was like so like awesome, and I wish they had tapped in that, like that other Doctor, right? That from the other dimension, that and then so they never they never kind of got into that at all.
Like basically, Chris, the comment was Chris was basically doing his best impression of Russell T Davies, and it just nothing seemed to just fit correctly with the episodes and the storylines. Everything seemed to just land correctly. The ideas were there, but nothing just kind of fit. Yeah. And now with Russell T Davies coming back, the OG, then all of a sudden this may kind of do it. But all those guys get burned out, because even Moffat, who was the biggest. All of them who wrote, to have entries. Even Capaldi wrote as a little kid as the entry to the magazine or the books. And like, I'm a big fan, kind of whatever. Like this is the thing. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, so that's Doctor Who. The Christmas episode is obviously coming out on Christmas Day.
And yeah, I agree with you. Russell T. Neil Patrick Harris was great. I thought episode 2 was really great as an episode, because again, I think Russell T Davies, quickly just jumping to the episodes, that he does a good job of kind of instilling the little bit of fear and horror and just unease that Doctor Who can do. Like even in the third episode with the dolls, I was like, no, I want no part of this. Like this is not cool. Like, so it's and I think the budget helps and hurts Doctor Who. I think there are some moments where I'm like, I'm glad there's some CGI, and there are other moments I'm like, ooh, too much CGI. Let's just balance this out, boys, and girls. Like, let's just not go too far the extreme, because it can date it very, very quickly. So I still want real life. I don't want too much of it, but again, I do know that it's there's some more money spent on these last 3 episodes of David Tennant's episodes. So again, I think it should appease everyone for now and take the pressure off. But yeah, I know you don't like it, but I'm sure people would be more upset if that was, if he was gone.
I would have, I would have really, no, I would have been fine with it. He had his time. What I really would have liked is if they had kept the new interior for this guy. Like there was no explanation as to why.
Whoa, jukebox! Come on.
No. Okay, wow, they added a jukebox. Yeah,
it's fine.
I'm just saying. There was no need for him to get this new interior, like David Tennant to get a new interior of the TARDIS. He could have had the old one. Nothing happened to it. Didn't make any sense. Anyways,
hey man,
whatever.
every Doctor gets a new desktop. That's the rules. Them the
No,
rules.
they didn't. No, because he inherited Christopher Eccleston's, and I mean, and then Matt Smith inherited that one as well until the Snowman episode that we were talking about. So, anyways, the last thing that we're going to talk about tonight is another little movie that you and I saw on Disney Plus. It dropped in theaters back in the summertime. I want to say it was June, maybe July. I did not go to the theater to see it. I kind of wanted to, but then part of me was like, and I saw a lot of movies this past year. But part of me was like, maybe I'm not going to. I don't know. I haven't really heard anything great about it. It dropped on Disney Plus a week ago, or maybe just this past Thursday or whatever. And that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which when I turned it on last night, it gives me the warning. Oh, this is 2 hours and 37 minutes. I was like, holy shit. Holy crap. Okay, let's go. I'm just gonna say this, Stu. I fell asleep. I had to rewind it. I fell asleep. The first 20 something minutes take place in the past, and when he's in quote unquote present day for that time period, right in the 50s, 60s, I fell asleep for about 10 minutes, and I woke up. I was like, what's going on? And I had to rewind the damn thing and start off again. So that's not a good sign. And it was only 7:50 something in the evening. So Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. What are your thoughts?
It was a missed opportunity, but I think that the pomp and circumstance of this is Harrison Ford's last one. I wish they'd said nothing and just silently said, maybe you'll do more, maybe not. I think it just set the expectations really high. I'm a big stan still of the original 3. 4 had its moments. I'm not going to hate on 4 like a lot of people do. It's fine. Is it Temple of Doom? No. Is it Last Crusade? No. But like, it's not terrible. Like, it's a fun romp adventure. Like, it's still better than the Chronicles of Indiana Jones. And I mean, this one, it had its moments. Like, I get it. Matt Mikkelsen, Phoebe Bridger Waller, like, it was fine. It's not as bad as it was, and it's not as good as it could be. They tried to do the nuance of like it's the spirit of Indiana Jones and some mystical stuff. It's kind of what people wanted in the beginning of a lot of these Indiana Jones films. Like it still kind of dips in like the freaking, the Ark of the Covenant is like a mystical object, and guess what? There's a dial too, that Dial of Destiny. Like it all fits in that weird wacko world that is in that Indiana Jones universe. Again, we didn't pay for it in the theater, so like it's fine. Is this the way it's going to go? Great, but this is what I expect of Harrison Ford now. This is the bar is so low with Harrison Ford films. Clearly, the best thing that he did was in Shrink. Like everything else, he kind of you can tell that he's just not interested.
So here, I just had to double check. I had said to my son, who did not watch it with me, I said I had a real, and I just confirmed. So he's 81 years old right now. I had a really tough time watching an 80-year-old running around the streets as an 80-year-old does, which is to say not gracefully. I felt really uncomfortable watching him run around and doing this stuff and punching people and them like being knocked out from an 80-year-old man's punch.
Hey, why? We're going to have 80-year-old Tom Cruise, knock on wood, running around in Mission Impossible. It's the exact same, except for Ethan Hunt's going to be just running. And you're like, should an 81-year-old man be running right now? And it's Tom Cruise, man. You run, baby.
I'm just not. I felt very awkward watching it. I felt uncomfortable watching it. I was like, it is an octogenarian who, doing all, back wearing his old fedora and the leather jacket and the whip that he can't really use that well. It just, I felt like it kind of just sullied the whole idea of Indiana Jones for me, and was not happy with the movie whatsoever.
Wow. Hey, I get what you're saying. I can suspend disbelief. If Vin Diesel can punch The Rock and his hand not explode, then Harrison Ford, however old he is, can run down the streets. So I'm good at this.
But you know what it made me think about? Like, remember years ago there was talk about Chris Pratt kind of assuming the Indiana Jones mantle.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I would have been, now having seen Harrison Ford reprise his role on this one, I would have been more than happy to have seen Chris Pratt as a new, and like, I think Harrison Ford has had his time, and yeah, it's time for him to go on like, he can't be Indiana Jones in his adventures. It's not an adventure watching an 80-year-old man running around. In real life, that's called, wellness checks. Like, it doesn't it's not it doesn't work, man. And I'm sorry. Like, I think you can be active, aquafit. There's lots of 80-year-olds who do stuff at the gyms and at the YMCAs, and they do their shit, but they're usually in bed by 7. But running around, Europe, or trying to battle Nazis and stuff like that, Nazis, and when you're 80 years old, and running up and down cobblestone steps, and like hunched over, the way his knees aren't moving. I'm like, why are you putting this person through this? Like, that's where I actually felt bad. I was like, why are you pushing this man to do these quote unquote stunts? I felt the same way with Picard. I felt the same way when they had Picard running around and doing all that shit in the first season. I was like, why are you're dragging this man out of retirement to do this stuff, to get money off of his back for what purpose? What are you doing?
At least in Professor X, he gets to sit in a chair. So maybe we should just keep on keeping that he looks spry and good. Put him at a hover chair. Yeah. Fraser mentions that Harrison Ford is the Red Hulk. That is correct. He's going to be the new
Ross.
Red Hulk.
But again, Ross. Like, why, man? Like,
the other guy, R.I.P. passed away, so that's
William Hurt. No, I don't know, but I mean, why do you pull Harrison Ford to do something like that?
Why
right?
not? Because Harrison Ford needs money. And then Lewis mentions about Chris Pratt needs to be in everything. Yes, he needs to be in everything. He is Garfield. He is in Jurassic Park.
Mario.
He's Mario. Let's cast him as a young William Riker. Put him in a reboot of Star Trek. Put him as a Riker TV show. Let's keep on rolling it out. Like, what universe can he be part of next? Is my question. Where can we put Chris Pratt next?
Well,
because Chris Pratt has made me laugh more than anyone else in any scene in Parks and Recreation. Any one of those blooper scenes, and I will not share with you because they're very inappropriate here. He's made me laugh so many times that he deserves anything he wants.
Yeah, his Parks and Rec blooper scenes are hilarious, right?
Yeah, it's good. Just Google it and watch it. Like, yeah, there's one scene in particular that it's inappropriate, but I laughed a lot.
All right, so overall, give me a start of 5, man.
Just stay away from those films. Like, you don't like it, just go. And you can see the disdain also in Sean Connery. Sean Connery didn't want to be there for Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was there. He did it.
No, for Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. So
no, he liked it. He was happy. You know where he wasn't happy? The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes,
he was not happy.
Yeah. Yeah, he talked to Shane West. It's like, they're not paying me enough for this. So it's like, I'm done.
So out of 5, what are you going to give the Dial of Destiny?
Great question. 3?
Yeah.
It's you can watch it. It's watchable. It's fine. It's fine.
Take a bunch of like Red Bull beforehand.
Hey man, you're allowed to do whatever you want in this country, whether it's edibles or brownies or vaping or whatever you need to do. It's a good time, no alcohol required, as John says. So.
All right, well, that is the show for tonight. Stu, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you, I think, next week as well. I think we'll have a special. Probably some Christmas episode, because my goodness, it will be the 17th of December, which is just crazy to think about. So we'll have something for next week. Keep your socials attuned. Don't forget, listen, we are getting down to the wire, ladies and gents. It is Christmas time. You've got to get over to Heroes World. The new location is out in Richmond Hill. You can give the store a call, go online. As you can see, I got the website up here. Lots of stuff that you can get. First of all, you should be following their social media stuff for all the new toys. I think they had a huge dumping of McFarlane stock that just came in, and some of those figures look absolutely unbelievable. So you're definitely going to want to check out the Heroes World. Heroesworld.ca is the website. If you were paying attention, I gave you a list of some of the omnibuses that are currently on sale at Heroes World, and definitely go back, check out the beginning of the episode, and then you can tell John that Rob sent you and you get an extra 10% off those specific omnibuses for the month of December. All right, so we will see everybody next week. Stu, thanks so much, man.
Pleasure as always. Thank you.
I hope you have yourself a good week. And any parting words?
I think Nanu is what we say, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. All right.
Been a while. Yeah, but that's it. Nanu.
Yes, to those back in Orc. Nanu. All right. We'll see you guys later.